What's going on, guys? Welcome back for another video, and this is Fragrance Load 101. We're going to talk about how much scent is too much, how to know if you're, how to measure it properly, how to know if you're putting too much scent in your wax, and some of the issues that can come from that. So without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Ahmad. This is As I Am Candle Co. I am a creator. I've been creating candles now for about 5 or 6 years. So I'm just making videos from my experience, things that I've experienced as a candle maker that you might also experience as well. Like I said, we're talking about Fragrance Load 101. So I know for me, when I first started making candles, I thought that more equals more. You know, I was not the greatest chemistry student and science student, I'm not going to lie to you. So I always thought that, okay, and a lot of people think this, if you want your candle to smell better, you need more scent. That is not true, and because at a certain point in time, there is a point where you putting too much scent actually hurts your performance, right? So if you don't know, when we're talking about fragrance load, most candles have between 8 and 12%. So 12% is the max, 8% is the least you probably want to put in there. And it really depends on the wax. So, I can make videos about different wax. You have the soys, the coconut apricots, the beeswax, whatever. If you want that, you can drop it in the comment. I'll make a video on that. But when we're talking about specific fragrance oils, there's a lot of things that you kind of have to, not a lot of things, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind, right? One is the type of fragrance oil that you have. So it could be the quality of fragrance oil. 2 is probably the percentage of fragrance oil that you use. And the third thing is the wax type that you have. So I'm going to talk about each one really quickly. 1, quality. So sometimes not all fragrance oils are made the same. If you pay a little bit for a little scent, it might be worse than paying a little more for a better scent. So quality is important, and that comes from kind of testing different scents. I think when I first started, I started with like scents from like Walmart and Hobby Lobby, and those were no-go. And then I kind of just, found a fragrance site that's like, okay, they have some stuff that I kind of want to try. I tried those, and those work. So, understanding quality. Second thing is fragrance load. Like I said, 8 to 12%. Understanding your wax, which is the third thing, is going to understand what kind of fragrance load that you need. Some wax perform better with more scent. Some wax perform better with less scent. So you kind of have to test that. And talking about wax, I use coconut apricot wax. Same thing, 8 to 12%. But I often find that 12% is usually too much because of the fact that it can, after that point, it just, it affects, it affects the burn performance. So when I'm saying it's too much, you can do 12%. But if you already have a scent that's really strong, it's just going to overpower the scent. And sometimes if you have a scent that's like, okay, well, my scent though isn't good, maybe I should try more. You can do that, or maybe that's just not a good scent to use. Like there's some scents that I've had that was like peach and different things like that, citrus, that they were just really light. So even if I put in more, it can help a little bit, but that is just a light scent. So it's just probably not gonna, it's just gonna be a light scent. And sometimes you have things like that as well. So understanding the scent, understanding the fragrance load, and understanding the kind of wax that you have. Some scents, some waxes give a better throw than others. Like coconut apricot wax, I had to test that one because it might not give as much of a scent throw. And so I had to use a different quality of scent to be able to get the scent throw that I want. And now I'm pleased and my customers are pleased. So here are some of the cons about using too much scent throw. So using too much scent throw, like I said, it can hurt performance. And here's why. That black stuff that you get around candles, that soot, I'm not saying you can like prevent soot. At least I haven't found a way to prevent soot yet in my 5 or 6 years, but you can kind of lessen it. And sometimes that is about how much scent you put in there. If you put too much scent in there, you're ultimately burning it out. That's really what's going on. You're gonna burn the scent out, so it's like you're wasting money, which is the second thing. You don't want to waste money, and it doesn't mean that it's a lot when you're using certain scent, but over time, those cents do turn into dollars, and those dollars turn into a lot of dollars. So you just try to want to prevent that as much as possible. You don't want to waste money, and you don't want to burn your scent out. Another con that I have is it could be the way that the wick burns sometimes. So what I've noticed is I use wooden wicks. So what I've noticed sometimes if I have a high scent throw, it could cause like a larger flame. You know what I mean? So, and you don't want that because that can make your wax burn a lot. That also creates more soot, but that can make your wax candle or your candle wax burn a lot faster. You know what I mean? So these are some things that you need to think about when you're thinking of fragrance load. 8 to 12%. I don't usually do, I started doing 12% because I'm like, I'm going to do the max. And it's not one of those things, like I said, where you just pour, and you have to measure it out. because eventually you're just wasting scent. All it's going to do is cook out. All it's going to do is burn out, and that will affect the performance of your candle. So, you know, test your fragrances, test your scent, test your fragrance load. If you have any questions about this topic, or you just want to talk about your experience with candle making and scents and different things like that, drop it in the comment. Till the next time, you know what I'm saying? Like it, comment, all that, subscribe. Peace.